I'm Tod Bowman with Bowman & Daughters General Construction. We're a Virginia Class A licensed contractor, and we're going to talk about painting today. First thing is prep work and setup. Prep work, we want to fill all our holes and repair cracks. Often you'll have cracks along the seam between the upstairs ceiling and wall. Okay, so for the patchwork on this, we're going to just remove these anchors. These are screws that have the X on them that fits the Phillips head. That's how we know they're screw anchors. So we're just going to put our screw gun in there, get these out. And then we're going to use, this is the 5-in-1. We're just going to chip off anything loose we want out of there. Otherwise it will get mixed in our mud. This stuff I can stuff in there, push it in the hole. And that's fine. Using the butt of the 5-in-1 or the tape knife, either one. Push these things in. You can fold that in. And then shove it in the hole. Kind of grind it a little bit. Run your thumb over it when you do that and make sure sometimes when you push on it, it'll raise. You can see here where there's a little raised area that's from the anchor. I want to make sure that gets pushed in, but at the same time, I want to be sure that I'm not pushing so hard that I'm raising an area myself, right? Making stuff worse. So check it, just run your finger over it. You can also feel it with your blade. See, my blade goes over nice and smooth, so nothing's sticking up. Mostly we just don't want anything sticking out. Everything should go in. If it sticks out, your finished product is going to have a bump in it. We're going to use Easy Sand 20 on this one, which is a powdered product, right? We're going to mix that. We're going to do that in a second. Nice and smooth. Okay, so we'll mix up some Easy Sand. So we're going to take a little bit of the powder. We're going to head into the bathroom and get our water. We're going to mix this up to a consistency that's something along the lines of slightly extra stiff cake frosting. So this is too hard, so we add a little more water. It's got to stand on its own. That's going to be correct. We're going to mix it some more. And I have about 20 minutes to work with this one, hence the Easy Sand 20. There's also a 5-minute version, which I don't use. I like the 20. 20 minutes to use it, to work it, and I can recoat it. When it's hard, it doesn't have to be dry. So this is like a heavy frosting, right? It holds its own shape. If you get it too thick and you need to sand it, you can only use 220. 220 is the highest grit you can use on this stuff. So I've got it up on the side here. And you just cut off a little bit of that, right? And apply it. And you want to go in multiple directions to make sure it's hitting all the different sides, right? That's fine. So these, I'm going to wait until they're hard and then I'm going to recoat them. So if we did it too thick like this, right, I'd have to sand all that down before I could recoat it. Otherwise, we'd have a bump when we paint and it will look terrible. I want the hole predominantly filled, but because I'm going to recoat that little bit around there, around the rim, I'll get with the second coat easily. And I won't have to sand this. I can just hit it. Take off a little more. So I'll just go around the room. Typically I'll do, like in the case of this house, I did all the inspection last night. So I'll go through when I'm ready, I'll go through and do all the mud on the whole upstairs and hallway and whatever, and then come through and sand it all. When you do it that way, it looks like not much is getting done at the end of the day. But really, you've done like over 100 little holes, you know, so a lot is getting done. It just doesn't look like it. Then with this stuff, the 20, it'll start getting hard pretty quick. But even when it is hard, before the 20 minutes, we can wait and let this get there. But even when it's crumbly, you can put it on the wall, and if you go over it and over it and over it, it softens up again. You're basically just remixing it. What you cannot do is add water. Don't add water to it. It's called retempering. It won't be strong. It'll be very weak. So don't re-add water. Once it's mixed, that's all the water it gets. This one has, see how it has those little like grooves, I guess? Right. That still need to be filled. So I'll come back through once this is hard with another very thin coat, and that'll fill all of that. And I won't have to sand it because I'll come in very low. So when you put it on, you want a high angle on your blade. So it goes on kind of thick, right? Doing high angle. And then as you work it in, you reduce the angle more to the wall and it comes flat. Okay. If you have it on the wall and you reduce it this way, you got a lot more chance of there being bumps. You can hear the difference, right?
Right.
Versus this lighter, lower angle will produce a much smoother finished result. So now if you look at it, it's more like a putty than a cake frost. But as I work it, even though it's like Play-Doh here and getting thick, if I work it on the wall, just put it on, take it off quickly, basically remixing it on the wall, it softens up again. And I can do that for the length of the time, in this case 20 minutes. We finished this and it's cured, it's sat. What I do, my crews do, is we'll use our sanding pad and go ahead and sand all of these independently, like do this one, do that one, all around the room. And once these are all done, then we'll come back through and sand the entire wall. Do all of it, right? You get out the whole wall, because when you run your hand across it, you can feel little bumps from the previous guy. Now they're gone, right? That's all it took. So you're not killing yourself. You just very quickly go over the whole thing and you have a nice smooth surface to work from. Holding a paintbrush, don't hold it like this. People think nice long handle. You hold the paintbrush like a pencil. Just hold it just like a pencil. And you come along and you're using your wrist and you're using your shoulder mostly. So when we're gonna paint, assuming I don't want paint on this surface, I'm painting here, I can come along and there are two ways to address it. Up in the corner, for me, and again, I'm talking about style. Different guys have different style. Up in the corner, I'll push it against the wall and slide it in and then slowly drag it down. The biggest key to a good paint job is patience. Just take your time, especially in this kind of thing. Then you come back, that will leave me, as you'll see in a little bit later, about an inch or so of paint on the wall, and I come back a little bit further away and a little bit faster this way and bring it out further. The reason we want it out 3 or 4 inches is so that we can roll it easily without the roller hitting the surface that we don't want the paint on. There are different kinds of rollers. This is the White Dove, Purdy White Dove. I love this thing. It does not shed. I've never had this shed. The other thing I want to talk to you about is nap. The thicker the nap intent is for the rougher the surface. It means the rougher the surface that you're going to paint. So brick versus drywall. Right, brick is rougher, so you should use a thicker nap than you do on drywall. But 1/2 inch, I think, is optimum. I get a nice thick, again, a thick layer that's going to give me some resilience. It's going to give my homeowners a good long life on their product, on the job, and it's just quality, man. You want quality. So these are 9 inch. This is our standard, is 9 inch roller, which uses this kind of a frame, and then you'll have 2 different setups. You can use either one, your choice. This is the more traditional. It's a pan with a liner, and you paint and you just use your brush to clean the excess out of here and then throw the liner in the trash. I'll use that on a small job. If I'm coming to your house just to clean, or just to paint, for example, your bathroom. On a larger job, I'll use a 5-gallon bucket set up, and these you can get at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. That's a roller screen, and it just sits on the side of your bucket. Put the paint in the bottom, an inch and a half. When you put this in the paint, don't let it get above this. You don't want this getting paint all over it, this part of your roller. That'll drip. So you just want to like down, the bottom inch or so, and you run it on the screen. Get the bottom inch of that. So you'll do like this side, move it up to here, do that side, and so on. And you're using the screen then just to get the excess off, up and down, just like you would use these to get the excess off, right? Same kind of a situation.
So the bucket is for a larger job?
Mm-hmm. Because it's faster. I can get a bunch of paint in there. I don't have to refill it all the time. So I can just go and go and go. And then we can use these handles. This is a 2/4 Shoreline. I don't remember where I got this, but it does a trombone type accordion from 2 feet to 4 feet and locks in place. And it's threaded, so it just screws into the end of this handle. So then I can paint, in this case, it's at the 2 foot is plenty for this room, but if I want, I can run it out to 4, work in the ceilings, for example. And then this is a 4 to 8 foot, which I'll use more in the hallway, and this one is the staircase is very high, so I can go out to 8 feet with my roller on the other end. If you want to use tape, been traditional now for about, I don't know, 10 years. It's the blue tape. We used to use masking tape that was sort of an off-white color. Blue tape has been the tradition. And it's good. I mean, it's decent. It bleeds. So I'll tell you how, if you're going to use this and you're doing very quickly, I don't suggest you do accent walls, but if you want to and you want to tape it, it won't show up on the video. But if you feel this stuff, it's rough, it's bumpy. And when we put it on the wall, that rough bumpiness, we use little teeny gaps. So it's not actually totally stuck to this wall. You can run your fingernail and get it tighter, just kind of crush that edge. The other way to do it is, let's say I'm going white here. I want a nice crisp line between a white color and this, we'll call this gray. Nice crisp line. So the way to do that is put your tape on and then paint this gray, not white. You paint it this color, this gray. That will allow all these little holes underneath of here to fill up with gray paint, and you let that dry. And then you put your white. You know, as soon as that gray is cured, just one thin coat. All your purpose is, again, is filling up those little holes. Then you put your white. Because those holes are now filled, when you take your tape off, you have a nice crisp line. If you don't do that, then often the white will go into those little gaps. Then you take your tape off and you got little teeny white marks where your gray is supposed to be. And it's rough. It's not a crisp line, it's rough. So here's what I want to show you. You have two rims, right? There's one here and one here. And your lid has this rounded edge that goes into that depression between these two rims. People get in all kinds of trouble trying to put the lid back on when there's paint in that depression. You want to get that out. The inside rim is actually lower than the outside rim. Okay, this is lower than this. So I can just take my brush, stick it in the depression, this side of, there's our paint that we want to get rid of, right? This side of that paint, and as I come around through that paint, it all goes to the inside. Because this is lower, right? So as I pull it around, it all dumps right back into the can where I want it. It's not running out this side. And now that rim is nice and clean. I don't have to beat the heck out of this top. Always right on the top, so I know, and my guys know where that is. I'm using my 5-in-1, and I'm just going around. And that's on. If you pound it, if you step on it in the first place, you're getting paint all over the bottom of your shoe, which you're not going to track all over your house. So don't step on it. But also you'll bend it. You bend the top, and then you do that 4 or 5 times. Now the top doesn't fit. Or if you leave paint in that depression, and you put the top on, off, on, off, on, off, and now it doesn't fit. You can keep your paint, you know, for touch-ups later on down the road, just by keeping it clean. You know, again, take care of your stuff.
Excellent. Thanks, Todd.
You were welcome.